Hello, talented teachers. Welcome to Creative Ideas for Teaching English. If you're new to our channel, consider subscribing, liking, and sharing our videos so that you give us a kind of support. Let's have a look at these pictures. When you see these pictures, what comes to your mind? Can you guess? Yes, there are stethoscopes, there are different magnets, there are maps, different stuff. So what do they represent? Of course, they represent one of the most important sequences in third year, which is me and the scientific world. Very good. So today we're going to talk about me and the scientific world. We're going to discuss the sequence map, which is very important. Also, we're going to talk about the four situations and the core values. In addition to that, we're going to have some samples, some lesson samples from the sequence. So if you're interested to know more about that, stick around. Alright, we're going to start with the sequence map. As you can see here, we've got from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lessons in this sequence. We have analyzed the course book, the yearly planning, and we have, let's say, designed this sequence map, as I said before. So we start from the initial situation till I think a right. Here you can see that I give titles for each lesson. I think that it's very good. It's of good importance if you give titles to your lessons. It will help you and help learners understand deeply what the lesson will be about. So let's start with the initial situation. It's a PDP. By the end of the lesson, my learners will be able to name different Muslim scientists and their inventions and discoveries. Here I want to shed some light over the word to invent and to discover. You know that these two words are different because when you invent something that did not exist before. For example, when I speak about Abbas ibn Farnas or the Wright brothers, they invented the plane. And for discoveries, we discover something which is existing. For instance, when we speak about catgut and the use of these, let's say, catgut in stitches in making surgery. So it's already existing, but we have discovered the way we use it in surgery. So this is the difference between inventions and discoveries. Framework is a PDP, pre-listening, during, and post-listening. Next, we've got another PDP, PDP, then we've got PPU, presentation, practice, produce, PPP, presentation, practice, produce, PPU, presentation, practice, use. And of course, here we've got PDP, pre-reading, during, and post-reading, and we've got pre-writing, during writing, and post-writing. Sorry, let's get back to the previous. Now we come to the second one, an Algerian scientist. By the end of the lesson, learners will be able to write dialogues asking about different personal information, including date and place of birth. You know that learners have already seen date and place of birth during sequence 2, talking about life in the past. So it's kind of a revision here with the use of the simple past. Next, we've got, by the end of the lesson, learners will be able to fill in a biography about Professor Belkacem Haba. Here we're going to fill in a biography. Next, learners will be able to fill in a biography about a famous scientist using relative pronouns. So here we're going to use relative pronouns in order to fill in a biography, okay? So we cannot say that we're going to use relative pronouns to fill in a biography because here the aim is the use of the language, not the grammar. Grammar is a means, as I said before, it's not the aim. Next, we've got, by the end of the lesson, my learners will be able to produce short dialogue using the past continuous. Next, we've got, my learners will be able to write short dialogues using modals can and may to make requests. By the end of the lesson, my learners will be able to classify words according to the pronunciation of the sound f and v. By the end of the lesson, my learners will be able to interpret non-verbal messages into verbal ones using the connector while. By the end of the lesson, my learners will be able to write a biography about Dr. Borwis. By the end of the lesson, my learners will be able to write a historical introduction to the Islamic cultural and scientific heritage brochure using a timeline of events. Generally, this is the sequence map for third year. Of course, if there are some omitted lessons or omitted, let's say, options or omitted stuff here, you can just omit them. This is the original work, the one related to the previous yearly planning, the original one. Of course, it's not perfect there, it might need some changes, so it's just my personal humble work. You can use it as a sample, and of course you can use and make better. Now we're going to talk about the 4 situations. Of course, we start with the initial situation, the starting off phase, where you're going to make your learners acquainted with the new sequence, they get familiar with it. So our math, biography, English, history and geography, science and technology teachers want us to design a brochure in which, or in English, about Islamic, scientific and cultural heritage. The brochure will include historical introduction, a text accompanied by a timeline, biographies of eminent Muslim scientists, and text describing inventions, innovations, and discoveries in various fields. This is the initial situation. Next, okay, we have jumped to, I think you're right. At the beginning of the sequence, me and the scientific world, my teacher asked me to design a brochure about eminent Muslim scientists that contains texts describing them, their discoveries and inventions, but I have not written the introduction yet. I will use the timeline events to write my historical introduction, so we're going to solve this initial situation by the end of the sequence. For the situation of integration, it's National Inventors Day in Algeria. To celebrate the event, I'm going to write Dr. Borwis' biography and put it on display in the local public library, where an official ceremony will be held. The best works will be awarded prizes, and I want to be among the winners. Finally, this is one of the learning situations. Omar is a middle school pupil. He has participated in a school magazine competition for the best research about Algerian scientists. Each time he interviews science figures and writes articles about them. Today he's meeting a talented young Algerian scientist. So these are the 4 situations. Now we're going to speak about core values. So here it's sharing a national community vision of a better future built on technological progress. We are valuing knowledge and hard work to achieve one's goals in life. Raising teenagers' awareness of the importance of scientific knowledge for both the individual and his community. And finally, raising teenagers' awareness of their intellectual potential and capabilities. Of course, we want our learners to take these lessons as, let's say, lessons, not just theoretical lessons. We want them to practice, we want them to be better, we want them to achieve, to develop, to change their bad behaviors into, let's say, better ones. Now we're going to talk about samples from this, let's say, sequence. Start with the initial situation. I have chosen the PDP framework. By the end of the lesson, my learners will be able to name different Muslim scientists and their inventions or discoveries. I have got flashcards, puzzles, and a video. Raising teenagers' awareness about the importance of our history as leaders in the world of science, raising their awareness of their intellectual potential and capabilities compared to teenagers in developed countries, valuing knowledge. So this is generally the, let's say, the first part of the lesson. Let's move on. Lead in. The teacher invites learners to split into groups. We divide our learners into groups of mixed abilities. Then we provide each group with, let's say, a puzzle. Learners try to match the pieces of the puzzle to get different pictures. Once learners finish working on the puzzle, we write the words on the board. For example, we've got a camera, we've got a bulb, a smartphone, telescope, microscope, computer, etc. We write this question mark. What do they represent? What do these things represent? They represent scientific inventions. Now, time for discussion. The teacher opens the door for learners to name as much as inventions as possible. So here we can give them the floor to give their own information about inventions, inventors. Here they can mention Muslim scientists or non-Muslims. It's just for discussion and to, let's say, share information here and there. Next, the teacher sticks a flashcard on the board to help learners guess the title of the new sequence. So we're going to stick this card. As you can see here, it's a globe, it's a boy here. This is our character Omar with these staff representing science. So we say me and the scientific world. They discover the new sequence's title. Next, after writing the title on the board, time to listen to, let's say, a video. Here I have mentioned just some examples in order to enrich learners' vocabulary. We've got a list of famous scientists and their inventions. Next, we watch this video. I think that most of the teachers have seen this video. It's very interesting and suitable for this, let's say, sequence in particular. After watching this video, we need to draw our mind map, Arab scientists. Of course, here we can mention the initial situation. I will speak about it later, but normally we mention it here. So we're going to speak about the fields, inventors, and their inventions. We can even add more, why not? But it will be enough. So this is our initial situation, as we said before. You can read it once more. So we end up this lesson by writing this conclusion on our copybooks. To sum up, Arab Muslim scientists of the Golden Age played an important role that led to modern revolutionary inventions and discoveries. This is a simple initial situation that will help learners have a general overview of the topic we're going to talk about.